So after days of not hearing anything regarding the Minnesota Vikings and what was going on to try to get them down below the salary cap, we finally got some news today. And it's the biggest domino that needed to fall before anything else could be figured out.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins signed a 1-year, $35 million extension through 2023, added on a couple of void years. This, I think, is probably best case scenario for keeping Kirk Cousins in the whole thing. I mean, there was trades that were being talked about. There was extensions being talked about, never cuts because you're not going to pay the guy $45 million. But yeah, so that's what they decided to do. They decided that they want to compete this upcoming year. I'm okay with it. I actually think it was a good deal for both sides. And before we kind of give our thoughts on things, we want to jump into the salary cap implications and kind of show what exactly this deal looks like for the coming years.
Yeah, big Vikings news. I don't think we're trying to overshadow the Tom Brady thing, but what do? Kirk Cousins, heard about that. We made that happen. But before we move on here, I want to thank everybody watching the GG Sport podcast of the Minnesota Vikings, where we endure heartbreak but always bleed purple. Hit the subscribe button, the bell, get notifications whenever I have our videos. Keep watching us. We're on our shit. This is going to be the first video that comes out of anybody. Hopefully, probably not, but we're early to this. That's all that matters. All right, let's go.
All right. So first off, the tweet from Adam Schefter regarding the deal. Vikings gave Kirk Cousins a 1-year, fully guaranteed $35 million extension. He'll make $40 million this year, $30 million next. And of course, as I mentioned, the 2 void years to kind of spread out the cap number. So this year, the deal actually isn't that bad. $31.25 million, which is down from the $45 million cap that he was going to have. And then as Adam Schefter also says, $50 million of the deal will be paid by this time next year. Overall, not too bad. I'm actually okay with this. It's fine with me. So let's jump into the numbers here. This comes from Over the Cap, and we're going to try our best to explain kind of what's going on. But as you remember, we did a video of this before looking at the contract numbers on Over the Cap. Kirk Cousins' base salary was originally $35 million with a $10 million prorated signing bonus. So with the new money, it looks like over the next 2 years, his base salary drops to $15 million each of the next 2 years. In 2023, he gets a $15 million roster bonus. And I think what they did with the extra money, so instead of paying him that $45 million upfront, you mess around with the base salaries and some of the roster bonuses, and that prorated bonus, the rest of the money was added into that. And as you can see, it is going to be spread out over the next 4 seasons. And it looks like prorated bonus would be $6.25 million each of the next 4 years to spread out that cap number. And especially with the cap expected to balloon and rebound a little bit more after all the COVID stuff going into the future seasons, it actually doesn't look that bad. Next year, the cap number is going to be $36.25 million, which is honestly, if you look at what quarterbacks are signing for right now, I think that's I said going into this whole discussion about Kirk, I said $35 million. I think what he's worth as a quarterback. I think this is fair market value, especially with the rising salary cap.
Yeah.
So with all that being said, and I was kind of looking at it too, I was a little bit confused. In 2024, they had the 6.25 prorated bonus, but the salary cap number being 12.5 million. I think they'll end up spreading out that 6.25 over 2024 and 2025 to give that $6.25 million cap hit from Kirk Cousins those 2 years instead of a $12.5 million one in 2024. What's up?
Yeah, I just want to mention, essentially, we owed him. We had a $45 million cap hit $45 million cap hit for his contract this year, and now we've brought it down to about 31.5, so almost 14. We saved $14 million for this year, and then we signed him to essentially $36 million for next year, and then in 2024, 2025, whether he's on our team or not, we have that $6 million a year that we'd have to eat, or it's still our cap situation or whatever. Obviously, that's really low. Dead money, exactly. And then who knows? I mean, we could extend them next year or whatever. Who knows how that's going to roll out? Yeah. But at the end of the day, we have the 36. So the $36 million next year.
Yep.
And that's what I was gonna say. So the $36 million next year, and then the no trade clause. So now we know that so next year if we did want to trade him, he gets to pick who he wants to traded to. So yeah, I mean, we saved 14 million this year, 36 next year, and then we have some cap stuff. And I mean, obviously, it helps a lot for right now. And like you said, I do think it is, as far as keeping him goes, and especially since didn't sound like he was willing to take a pay cut.
Right.
I feel like this is the best case scenario because now we have room for other extensions or other stuff we can do. And once we go into the other parts of the roster and kind of dig around in there, we can maybe bring it down and have at least some money going into the
because as of right now, we're only $1.6 million over the cap. And as you know, as we know, something's going to happen with Danielle Hunter. There's been rumors about things happening with Thielen and Kendricks and Harrison Smith and even Delvin Cook as well. Michael Pierce could be cut. So there's options. But this, like looking at this, when you think about keeping Kirk Cousins, this is what it was like. I was never expecting him to take a pay cut. I would never want me. I get it. I get why you wouldn't want to take a pay cut, especially when you do have the numbers that he has, which is how you base, that's kind of how you judge a quarterback a lot of times. But like, this is a pretty team friendly extension. And I think, we talked about the no trade clause. So I think what this is it shows the Vikings will try to win football games this year. They want to push for they want to push for a Super Bowl. Of course, they're not going to rebuild. So basically what this is Kirk's way of saying, I will do this for you guys. I will take this, I will allow you to add these void years to my contract, allow you to spread that money out. But at the end of this year, if things don't go well and you guys decide it's time to move on and you want to blow it up and start over, sure. The $36 million makes it a lot easier to trade him than $45 million would, which I think is the big thing with this cap number next year. But his thing is too, it's like, yeah, my contract's better to be traded. But if this is going to be the plan, and you guys do decide you want to move on, it's like, I'm not going to let you trade me to some slappy team for some picks. He's like, I want to decide where I'm going to go. So I will help you. But at the same time, I want this no trade clause so that I get to dictate my future. So
dude was shaking in his boots on the Carolina news.
Right. But like, I think this is pretty team friendly. Like I said, $36 million for Kirk Cousins. That's probably market value for a quarterback of his caliber. Even with the ballooning salary cap, it might be a little bit under, but the void years, and that's something that I think has really picked up steam over the last couple of years, is adding on these void years to the end of a contract. Right. And just for something like this, where you can keep a high priced player. And yeah, I mean, is it going to hurt having the dead cap money and not having the guy on your team? Yeah, but every team has that. Look at this. At least we're not going to be cap strapped like the Saints.
Right, exactly.
Over the cap as they are.
I mean, $6 million isn't terrible.
No,
if he's not on our team anymore, because that's still $30 million less than if we would have him on our team.
Right. Yep. And then the fact of the matter is $40 million this year, as Adam Schefter said, $35 million next year. So $25 million will be paid out, or all that's going to be remaining on the contract for Kirk is $25 million. And that's, at this time next year. And that's the money that they're spreading out over 2024 and 2025 respectively. So I think this is about as team friendly as it gets. It gives the Vikings, especially when they make those other moves, as we said. I mean, you can accept the $31 million cap number for Kirk Cousins. I think $30 million is below what the guy is. I don't think he's $40 million. I said $35 million. I'd have paid him this year. I'd have been perfectly fine with it. But it just gives him a way to where the big $45 million cap hit is reduced for this season. You get him for another year if things go well enough, and you can keep a team around him at $36 million. So overall, I think this was a good deal. I think this was a really solid contract extension for a guy that, who can win you football games. He's shown it. He, does he need the team to be perfect around him? Yeah, sure. But again, like a lot of quarterbacks, you can't say that about. So, but I think with this, it does become more imperative that they find the quarterback of the future, because you have, and start pick him or find him, pick him, groom him to take over after Kirk is gone. Especially with this, like you're trying to win now, but why not when Kirk's done? When you decide to move on, why not have that next guy ready who can just step right in and take over the roster? So it's time. Yeah. I mean, with this extension, it's even more imperative now that you find your guy and get him ready.
Yeah, I agree. I think the thing that is interesting is that, like you said again, it wasn't a big extension. It wasn't like a 3-year, 4-year extension. It was just the 1 year. So it is pretty obvious that we wanted to give him at least 1 year under Kevin O'Connell. So it
I'm
also kind
excited
of
to see.
shows you what's that?
I'm excited to see that. I think that's
Yeah,
gonna be
excited
good.
to see it. So that's kind of what we were, a kind of a mutual situation with this. I think we're totally cool if we could get something decent out of a trade for Kirk Cousins. We were interested in that avenue, but who knows if that was happening? Um, I don't know. But on the other side, we were cool with the idea of like, all right, we'll extend him for one more year or whatever and see what he has this year, see how he can play under Kevin O'Connell, and then maybe next year, if it doesn't work out or whatever, we can try to trade him. That's going to be the hard part, is if it doesn't work out, I guess. But then we just have to figure out some new stuff.
Yeah.
But
Well,
overall, I would say, I don't know. So that's kind of interesting. But then I have to say what you said about so is that what we do? Is that what you think we do? Is we still draft a quarterback kind of early? It's, we're not committed long term to Kirk. So it is kind of obvious, like they might try to get one of those young quarterbacks
yeah.
and put them under Kirk Cousins. So that's
Right.
probably the thing that I like the most about this, is that we're not just committing to Kirk
Right.
Cousins super long term with
Yep.
extension, and it could be used. And now we can just use him as that bridge quarterback.
Right. Well, and the thing with Kirk, when you look at it from his side, like again, I don't fault the guy at all for chasing the money. I mean, you're a football player, you make millions. This is what you do. Like, I don't fault. Like, and the numbers look good when you look at his
Right.
stats, which is whatever. That's always the argument. But still, like, I don't blame him at all for going and getting his money. And the
Right.
one thing I asked is this: I wanted him to take something team friendly to help the team out, and he has done that. This is what this is. So,
Mm-hmm.
and from his side too, you look at it. He's 34. After next season, he'll be what, probably, well, obviously 35, of course. So he can still, like, he saw what Rodgers cashed in at it. What's Rodgers, 37, 38 years old? Kirk Cousins, especially with the salary cap going up from all the new revenue they're getting from gambling as well as TV deals and stuff.
Right.
Kirk Cousins can cash in again on a long term, on a 4-year deal when he's done here. So
Mm-hmm.
he's setting himself up to make a lot of money now, which he has. I think they said he's made $230 million since his first franchise tag,
It's all
and
guaranteed.
make money in the future, especially if the numbers keep looking the way they do for him. So
Mm-hmm.
it was smart from him. It was smart from Kwesi to say, we want to compete this year. There's no other really amazing options. Tom Pelissero did say we got some trade offers. We didn't accept them, obviously. So it's good. I think this is a win-win for both sides. You can compete now. Kirk gets his money. Kirk has another shot to cash in, and you got an easy out next year. Because someone, as long as his numbers don't completely shit the bed, or he doesn't tear an ACL or do something, knock on wood, that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't happen. He's tradable for $36 million. Someone will take that. I mean, what, 5-6 years ago, Arizona gave Sam Bradford $20 million in his last year. Like, someone will pay Kirk Cousins $36 million. That $36 million contract in 2023, super easy to take on. So
Yeah.
let's kind of get, let's give our thoughts on this. I guess let's just go a straight up thumbs up, thumbs down on the deal. What do you give it?
So I'm going to say, I'm gonna start with, I'll give it an even, because I mean, as anyone who's watched any of your stuff before, or as you especially know, I was more towards the side of trading Kirk Cousins. But like I just mentioned earlier, like I was totally cool with the idea of having him for another year, especially if we kind of do the bridge quarterback thing. But just to see how he does play in Kevin O'Connell's offense, I do have to say, with the whole Russell Wilson thing and Aaron Rodgers, and then Kirk Cousins being kind of the last veteran quarterback that maybe might be on the market. I got swooped up into that hype a little bit when it came to the trading. And then obviously with the Watson news and him, again, a report coming out and saying that Watson would be cool with getting traded here. There's a lot of hype with that. So I think there's part of me that was thinking like, oh, maybe he'll get traded and we will get something good for him. And that was the only way I would have wanted to trade him, is if we actually got something back that was worth it to me. Like, I didn't want to just give up Kirk Cousins and give up his contract for
Right.
nothing.
Yeah.
I wanted something out of there. And I just felt like this offseason was like the best, just a really good offseason for a veteran quarterback, especially after Aaron Rodgers and Wilson were out right away. So I guess I'd be interested to see what we may have declined. I guess that would be the difference maker. I mean, if nobody gave us anything and we made this deal a lot because of that, then I would definitely give it a thumbs up. But if someone, gave us something I think we should have taken or whatever. So I think I just got hyped up in the trading thing. So I kind of wanted that or whatever. I hyped into that. I wanted to see, I didn't think there was a better offseason for this. But I definitely have to say, I mean, us keeping him and having an extra year under Kevin O'Connell, and then maybe drafting a quarterback and having him as that bridge, and then the fact that we also have a deal, so it's team friendly deal that's not committed long term, and it does give us a chance to maybe try to trade him again next year or anything like that. I think that works very well, especially if we do pick a rookie quarterback. If we do get a rookie quarterback, it could be the best case scenario for us, as far as being competitive next year and giving a guy a year to sit and stuff like that. So I'll give it one of these. It could have, if it was a straight up extension and they didn't figure, if we didn't save 14 million on the cap this year, that's pretty amazing, I guess. So if that didn't happen, it'd be a thumbs down for me probably. But 31 million this year, 36 next year. Yeah, eat 6 million a year the next 2 years, but we'll figure that shit out. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. How are you?
I'm going thumbs up. I mean, it's best case scenario for I mean, as I said, like I do a lot of the Twitter stuff, so I bet like there's a lot of people out there that probably think that I'm a Kirk hater, and I said it all the time on the show, and I've said it on Twitter too. I am neutral Kirk Cousins. I think you can win with him. I think you can do better than Kirk Cousins as well, but I think as I've said, for keeping Kirk Cousins for that route, this is the best thing that could have happened because you get a year to see how it works. If we make it to the NFC Championship game or lose the Super Bowl or something, I mean, obviously he's going to have leverage for an extension, but you could extend him and just keep rolling with it and the team you already have. But again, if things don't go well, you can trade him and $36 million goes somewhere else. You have $12.5 million dead over the next 2 seasons after that. So I think for this avenue, it's a win-win for both sides. Both sides get what they wanted, and now we can move on. So thumbs up. Now we can move on and try to go win the Super Bowl. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. So, and now, as we talked about with, as everything's were kind of slow up to this point, now things are really going to kick off with some of these roster moves and going into free agency. I'm excited to see what happens. So
I want to know. I mean, I'm assuming we'll see more before Wednesday. I mean, with the whole Danielle Hunter thing. And then, I mean, we do have Thielen. There's no question we're got to be in some talks with Thielen. 16 million's a lot, I feel like. But, well, I mean, Mike Williams is getting paid 20 million a year, so I don't know. But so I don't know. There's a lot of stuff we have to do. So it'll be interesting to see what else we have before Wednesday starts. Speaking of that, Wednesday we're going live for the beginning of free agency. And now since we figured out Kirk's contract and we saved 14 million on it, and whatever else we do, we might by Wednesday, hopefully we go in with a little spending money and we can do something right away and exciting. Hopefully, check out our top 5 video for free agency. Oh wait, we haven't even released it yet.
It's coming up.
Tomorrow releasing the top 5 video for our free agent wish list. So I mean, if any of those guys end up on our squad, I'd be pretty pumped.
Yeah. So I think that'll do it for this episode. We talked enough about this. So Kirk Cousins signs an extension 1 year. Win-win for both sides. Spread out some lowers cap number for the next 2 seasons. Looking good. We'll see what happens. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like for us. Let us know down in the comments your thoughts on the Kirk Cousins contract. Let us know if you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. We want to know that. If you want to check out some of our other videos, we're right up here for you. Most importantly, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. And we will see you guys in the next episode going over our free agent wish list.
SKOL Vikes.